Welcome everyone! As we approach October 31st, it's the perfect time to explore the fascinating history behind this age-old celebration. In today's video, we'll uncover the origins of Halloween, how it's celebrated around the world, and some fun facts you probably didn't know, like why do we call it Halloween? But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's a simple way to stay connected and never miss a video. Now, let's dive into the world of Halloween. To truly understand Halloween, we need to go back over 2000 years to ancient Celtic times. Halloween actually started as a festival called Samhain, celebrated by the Celts in what we know as Ireland, the UK, and northern France. Samhain marked the end of summer and the beginning of the dark, cold winter. This transition between the seasons was believed to blur the line between the living and the dead. People thought that on October 31st, ghosts could walk the earth once again. To ward off these roaming spirits, the Celts would light huge bonfires and wear costumes, usually made of animal heads and skins, to disguise themselves from any ghostly visitors. They also believed that spirits might play tricks on them during Samhain, so they left food and drink outside as offerings to appease the otherworldly beings. Fast forward to the 8th century, when the Christian Church decided to get in on the spooky action. Pope Gregory III declared November 1st as All Saints' Day, a day to honor saints and martyrs. The evening before was known as All Hallows' Eve, and is my guess that eventually became what we now call Halloween. The new Christian holiday was meant to overshadow the old pagan Samhain, but as time went on, many of the Celtic traditions blended with Christian customs. This mix eventually made its way to America in the 19th century, thanks to the Irish and Scottish immigrants bringing their Halloween celebrations across the Atlantic. Though Halloween is widely associated with the US, the holiday has gone global. In fact, many countries celebrate their own versions of Halloween or similar holidays honoring the dead. In Mexico, for example, they celebrate Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead, from October 31st to November 2nd. It's a lively celebration to honor and remember loved ones who have passed. Families build colorful altars called ofrendas and leave offerings like sugar skulls, marigolds, and favorite foods of the deceased. Over in Japan, they have a festival called Obon, where people honor their ancestors with lanterns, dances, and even floating lights on the rivers. And in Ireland, where Halloween began, many still celebrate the old Samhain traditions with bonfires and parties, keeping the ancient roots alive. So, how do we go from ancient bonfires and animal skins to trick-or-treating and pumpkin carving? Let's start with costumes. Remember how the Celts wore disguises to confuse ghosts? Well, the tradition evolved into what we know as Halloween costumes. By the early 20th century, dressing up for Halloween had become a popular activity, especially for kids. Today, costumes are one of the biggest parts of the celebration, whether you are dressing up as a spooky skeleton or your favorite superhero. Now, what about those jack-o'-lanterns? The story goes that jack-o'-lanterns are named after an Irish folktale about a man named Stingy Jack, who tricked the devil and ended up wandering the earth with only a carved-out turnip to light his way. When Irish immigrants came to America, they discovered pumpkins, bigger and easier to carve than turnips, and the tradition of pumpkin carving was born. As for trick-or-treating, that comes from a blend of old European traditions, like Samhain in the Middle Ages, where poor people would go door to door offering prayers for the dead in exchange for food. In the US, trick-or-treating became widespread in the 1920s and 30s, with children dressing up and going from house to house in search of candy. Here is some fun facts you might not know about Halloween. Halloween is the second largest commercial holiday in the US just after Christmas. Americans spend billions of dollars each year on costumes, decorations, and of course, candy. In fact, an estimated 600 million pounds of candy are bought each Halloween season. Here is another fun fact. The world record for the largest pumpkin ever grown was set in 2021, with a gigantic pumpkin weighing over 2,700 pounds. That's heavier than a small car. And speaking of records, the largest Halloween parade in the world takes place every year in New York City, Greenwich Village. Over 50,000 costumed participants and thousands of spectators filling the streets for a spooky night of fun. Finally, Halloween is believed to be a lucky day to find your future spouse, if you know the right tricks. According to an old Scottish tradition, you could peel an apple in one long strip and throw it over your shoulder. The shape it lands in is supposed to reveal the first letter of your future spouse's name. As you can see, Halloween is much more than just costumes and candy. It's a holiday with deep roots, celebrated in different ways all around the world. Whether you're carving pumpkins, dressing up, or simply enjoying some scary movies, Halloween is the perfect time to embrace the sinister spirit. Thanks for joining me on this haunted history tour. And don't forget, if you haven't already, to push on the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments how you are celebrating Halloween this year and if you have any cool traditions to share. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay spooky!